Now that we've talked about what kind of appliance design we're going to use, let's go ahead and start to fabricate that. I have the lower model, and this is poured up here in die stone, or I'm sorry, rather orthostone. And we have some rubber sep. That is just really colored rubber cement, and we'll be getting to that in a second. And then lastly, we have some Buffalo Blockout compound. Believe it or not, this is actually from my freshman dental school kit. I was looking around what I had in the lab, and lo and behold, there was the unopened box from freshman year at Marquette. Now, we could use silly putty, we could use Play-Doh, a lot of different things. What I prefer not to use, though, is I do not prefer to use a compound, or rather a composite material, as it can be a little bit tricky to get out of the suck down material. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead with the blockout material and even the incisal plane there in the anterior. The canines are a little bit of what I'm basing this off of, and now if you'll see the way I'm forming that, I'm just starting to come up a teeny little bit in the anterior. I'm also bringing some of that compound into the crowded areas on the lingual so that I don't have a lot of undercuts and incuts that the suck down material can get trapped in and have areas where we might be adjusting that. Now I could flatten this out honestly quite a bit, and I will. And then I have that little bit of central bearing point. And as I just guesstimate where that's going to be, I like to get that up to the midline. And the midlines are off on these models, so I'm going to, let's see, midlines are just off just a little bit. So I'd like that central bearing point to be a little bit more there to the patient's right. And see how that lines up. There we go. So smooth that out just a little bit. Now the nature of the suck down material, that's going to flow and kind of smooth out, so I'm not worried about a little bit of the sharp edges and ledges that exist there. I could trim this up just a little bit here if I like. That looks pretty good. Now, what I want to do, because I'm going to be using a thermoforming material over the top of that, that can be a little bit of a mess to clean up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some rubber sep, like I said, the colored rubber cement, and just paint it over the areas that I've added the blockout compound, so the blockout compound does not stick to the thermoform material. I'm probably usually a little bit neater than this with the blockout material. I'm getting used to this new little flip cam that I have. And go ahead, and I could probably put a couple of coats on there if I like. I can let this dry, or I can pop that into the triad oven. So what I have there is that's ready for the suck down. I'm also going to do a suck down on the maxillary appliance and add a lingual table. Now what I'd like to do with the casts before I do that is any areas where there's some real fragile enamel, and you can see there's probably also a little bit of bubble on that incisal edge. Any of the real severe wear areas where I know that the chance exists for the plastic to get a lot of force applied to it and perhaps even flex into those areas, I just give a little teeny bit of spacer there. Just a bit up front there. And I think that once these dry, both of these models will be ready to have the thermoforming material applied to them.